Is this the field we've got? Great Britain over there in lane 1 with Erin Kennedy loaded in the front of that boat. She's had quite a story. Now here again at the European Championships as they prepare on their road towards the Para Games in Paris.
Yeah, Josh O'Brien has come into this boat, the 22-year-old from Multi-Boat Club. They're in the yellow boat, no trouble spotting them. There is Margot Boulet from Circle d'Aviron Nogente in the stroke seat of the French boat. Emile Akistapas is there in the coxswain seat. The ever-reliable Greta Elizabeth Muti from Olana, 29-year-old, multi-talented, usually in a variety of events. And over here on this side, it is the Spanish crew. Right up in the bows is Josefa Benitez. She switched sports to join the crew. She only took up rowing in 2020. And she was then age 50. She is the veteran of this race at 54, would you believe? That's not far short of you, is it, Greg? Oh, Erin Kennedy, yeah. We're going to talk about Erin's story on the way down. There's Frankie Allen. It was her birthday in Bled a couple of years ago. The new boy in the British boat, Joseph O'Brien, Morgan Price-Noyes, Guy Juraski Kaite, the survivor from the Paralympic gold medal crew, the 32-year-old, Ed Fuller in the stroke seat.
Well, unsurprisingly, all these boats getting away. The coxes have got the boats parked nicely in. It's a bit of a smoother start in this coxed 4, and then the power and the pace need to build up. As we're saying, a strong start from the French ahead of the British, who I guess the British must have the strongest winning record of any boat in any boat class, having been gold medalists since 2010 in the para coxed 4. But the French just heading them at the moment.
Yeah, I guess the British were a bit frustrated that the Americans got that close to them at the Worlds last year. But, you know, for my money, it's great to see that level of competition in para, because normally there's Greta Elizabeth Muti. She comes from the Isola di Giglio, where on the day of San Lorenzo on August the 10th, they have a huge maritime festival, which really got her excited about rowing. There is the stroke of the British 4, Ed Fuller, the 21-year-old.
Yeah, we run down this boat now. This coxed 4 from GB, they won the preliminary race a few days ago by quite a significant margin. I think it was more than 10 seconds. So they're the clear favourites coming into this race, but it's a strong headwind at the moment, and the French and the Italian crews took it off really aggressively and led the GB boat for a few strokes off that start.
Yeah, the crew from Spain, we're looking there at Saul Penapunte, the 32-year-old in the stroke seat, and they're out of picture, so they're a little bit further back. But this race going according to lane draw and according to the preliminary race.
Yeah, and you said that Spanish crew, I guess they're good athletes, new to the para sport, some of them in rowing, and it's shown the technique of the British crew, so well grooved, so experienced in this coxed 4, which is helping them to ease their way out there to that position that they've pretty much been used to being in, trying to get some clear water as we're 500 metres in.
Yeah, great shot of this coxed 4 now. There was a great interview with Frankie Allen a few days ago with BBC, talking about that winning streak and what it's like to be in a boat like that has such a legacy. And she said, you know, it's not about the pressure of the legacy. There's never time to rest on your laurels. It's always about trying to make yourself better and the crew and the people in that crew right now better. That's the important thing.
To see behind Greta Muti, Marco Frank, who's a history teacher, man after my own heart. He says, history PhD, he's got Balkan muscles with Mexican soul in his body. The man from Trieste in the Italian 4. There he is right on the left of your picture in the 3 seat. Behind him, Tommaso Schettino and Carolina Foresti from Aniene and Savoia. But tell us a little bit about the story of Erin Kennedy, Imogen, the cox of that British crew out in front.
Yeah, so Erin, fantastic clip of the Italian coxed 4 there, currently in 3rd place. But Erin Kennedy was just over a year ago diagnosed with breast cancer, triple negative breast cancer, and successfully raced at the Europeans in 2022 whilst undergoing chemotherapy. It's been a tough road for her, chemotherapy and an operation, double mastectomy. But she is now cancer-free, back in the boat, and in her words, eyes on for Paris without any bumps, please.
And she's been so positive throughout that treatment, hasn't she? She used the rowing, focused on it, wanted to get back into this boat. And she's also made it very clear to encourage all of us to check ourselves regularly and make sure, we look after ourselves well. And then you find these things early, as I guess she found that.
Exactly.
So through the 1,000, the British hit that mark in 3:46. It is the French crew in second place, the Italians in third place. And the lane allocation kind of makes these distances seem more extreme than it did in the race for lanes.
Yeah, the GB Coxed 4 World Champions, France were 5th at the same event, so I wonder whether this GB4 will be happy with that margin or whether they'll be pushing for more. I'm sure Erin Kennedy, their cox, is going to be cracking the whip, telling them to keep pushing. It doesn't matter what that margin is. They're trying to do the best they can on the day.
Enrico Daniello, the cox of the Italian crew from the Stabia club down in Napoli. He has normally been coxing the Italian men's eights. He's come in for Raisa Schionio, who was coxing this boat, but I think they see Enrico as more experienced as a cox. I was just thinking why there's a cox in this boat, because normally they might have sometimes unsighted rowers. So you can't have a coxless 4 in that case. So you've got to have a cox.
Yeah, exactly.
It's good to see the coxed 4 still in action at the world and para world rowing level. As we're seeing, this British coxed 4, in the past we have seen them keep going and going, and they were always looking to reset the world best time. That was 6:47. They did it last year in Varese, and today's not a day they're going to set the world best time, but they're going to certainly keep churning it out. Imogen, do you look at percentage times? Would they do a percentage of their world best time and say, okay, well, maybe today they'll only do 85% of that world best, but would that be an important measure that they might then compare to the rest of your team?
It's definitely something that we look at. It's a very good way to compare speeds across different events when different events are different speeds, because you've got different people in them. So it's certainly something that they'll be looking at. France through the 1500. Looks like Italy's dropped off the pace quite a lot, but they are still out ahead of Spain. So they're still in that bronze medal position at the moment as we come into the final 500 meters.
The Spanish crew are a long way back. They're not even in that shot. Great shot from our drone. Get you an idea of the speed, even in the headwind, that these crews. You can see the Spanish crew in the background, but lovely rowing style. Nicola Benavente coaches this crew. What's she like as a coach, Imogen?
Oh, she's fantastic. There aren't as many female coaches as male coaches, and Nicola has really found a fantastic home on the para team. She's been really instrumental in really upskilling the new members of this crew, and I think raising the standard for the whole team.
Yeah, and it's great to see the experience in the 3-seat of Gudra Raskikaite, the Paralympic champion, just backing up the crew. There are the Italians. We talked about Greta Muti in the stroke seat. But back on Gudra Raskikaite, the blonde woman just backing up her stroke man, Edward Fuller, the 21-year-old Raskikaite, the oldest in the boat at 32.
And it's good to see the way that British crew is working with that tandem, with the two oars close together. It gives the boat the best chance of going straight, the way those forces are distributed. Not necessarily the easiest to row in, though, but the British were making it look very, very clean.
Balgal in the French boat, Candice Schaffer, cap slightly dislodged, maybe by the wind.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it is Great Britain coming up to win this first para-final of today at the European Championships. Yet again, they are European champions, the crew from Great Britain. A long, long distance, wasn't it? Made all the more extreme by the lane allocation. The favoured lanes are on that far side. France will take the silver medal, and that's one better than they got in Bled last year. Well, they took third. The Italians, well, they'll get a medal at the Europeans this year. They had to settle for 4th at the Europeans, so that at least they'll be on the podium. And it will be a long wait for the Spanish crew, who I can tell you are just going to come into the Red Buoys. We won't see them on camera because we'll see a replay. There's Erin Kennedy, the cox you heard Imogen talk about. Gija Raskakaite, shot of her.
Yeah, first race for Josh O'Brien in the GB Cox 4 as well. He's the new member of the team.
Yeah, how's he settled into Caversham life, do you know?
Really well. I think he's picked up really well, and they've got such experience in that boat to support and upskill. And, you know, he's rowing in that bucket behind G, who is the most experienced, so it's a perfect way to learn that technique. Yeah,
like you say, that bucket, we call it, with the two riggers next to each other. And, yeah, great way to actually have someone you can follow and match to. And
there you go.
Looks like he's fitted in really well.
And the applause you might hear, well, there are the Spanish coming up to the line in 4th place.
And confirmation there of those results. Great Britain ahead of France and Italy.
Ladies and gentlemen, the national anthem for Great Britain. Is